Hello everyone, this is Charlie, and in this tutorial, I will be showing you how to create worksheets that will help us create a comprehensive list so we can transform the data from an aggregate format to a transactional format. As I showed in the last video, that we can use the if and else function to create a loop for a series of numbers for X amount of time. This time, we'll continue to expand the knowledge that we have from last episode and create a second loop. The workbook I created in this tutorial is available to download in the below link. Please ask if you have any questions and let's dive into it. To begin, I got the list for the investor ID and the transaction type in column B and column E. These are the row identifier and the column identifier for the VLOOKUP that we will be referencing to. For each investor ID and transaction type, I will assign them a number in column A and column D. We'll refer the number as the row identifier number and the column identifier number. And we will work on creating a loop for the identifier numbers instead of the actual item because it's easier to handle and identify. You will also make the process more flexible, which I will explain later. I placed the number on the left side so it is easier for us to do VLOOKUP. Now we have all the identifier organized and we can start. Same as last episode, I'm going to summarize to see what we're going to expect in cell G4 to cell H6. In cell H4, I will use the max function to see how many identifiers are there in column A. Likewise, in cell H5, I use the max function to see how many identifiers are there in column D. I will then multiply cell H4 by cell H5. Then we'll know how many rows in total I need for a comprehensive list for all the identifiers. Alternatively, I can use CONTIF or counter functions. Let's look at what we're trying to achieve. In order to have a comprehensive list, we need the row identifier to begin from 1 and ends with 6. And we will need the column identifier to repeat the same number 6 times and then repeat another number for another 6 times and continue. In column J, we will need to create a loop for the row identifier where we're going to use the if and else function. This process is explained in the last episode. Please go to the description box to check it out if you want to know more details. In column K, we now need to create another loop that will repeat the same number for 6 times and begin with another number for another 6 times. Since we have column J created, we can use that column to help us. Column J gave us a huge hint of how we should place the number. As you may notice, column J starts from 1 and ends with 6. And it starts with 1 again and ends with 6 again. Meaning, whenever we see the number 1 in column J, column K should have complete repeating the previous number and should start to repeat the next number. Therefore, we'll use the if function. If column J on the same row is 1, then the formula should return us the above cell plus 1. Otherwise, the formula will equal to the above cell. With this simple formula, the column will repeat itself until you see 1 again in column J. Although the current function will make column K continue indefinitely and does not stop like column J, but it does not really matter as column J is sufficient enough to tell us when the list should stop. Now we have column J repeat the number 1 to number 6 3 times. And we have column K to repeat the number 1 6 times and the number 2 6 times and indefinitely for number 3. This is exactly what we're looking for. The last step of the whole process, we'll just need to translate the identifier number to the actual item that we're referring to. In column M and column N, we're going to use the VLOOKUP function to look up the investor ID for the row identifier number and the transaction type for the column identifier number. And we successfully create a comprehensive list that we can do index match function. To show you how it works, if I have 2 more investors in column B, the whole worksheet will then update it already. And the list has already included additional investors in column M and column N. If I want to remove one column identifier, the list will also update itself. To make the worksheet even better, I will automate column A and column D. I'm going to use the if function and ISBLANK function. ISBLANK function is used to identify if a cell is blank or not. In cell A3, I'm going to use if is blank cell B1. If it's true, meaning the cell is blank, I want the cell to return us nothing, which is quote and quote. Otherwise, it should be showing us above cell plus 1. Let me copy the cell to the rest of the range from A3 to A30. See, when I input an investor ID in column B, column A will update itself. I'm going to use the same function in column D. Let me highlight the cell that we have formula set up just in case we have more identifier over row 30. If I have more investor ID or transaction types, the list will then continue to update itself. I do not even need to worry about column A and column D. As you can see, the sample I just used, the comprehensive list is not long enough for all the data, therefore I can simply just copy the function down. Until I see an A in column M, then I know we have created a comprehensive list. Let me delete the extra item that I created to demonstrate the process. If we use index match function in column O to look up the number from the table, then we will be able to completely transform the data. The total of the list is equal to 1,157,000, which agrees to the table, so we're done. If the current project I'm working on has changed, and I have different row identifier and column identifier, can I still use this worksheet? The answer is yes. That is the reason why I create a loop for the identifier numbers rather than the identifier itself and make the worksheet more flexible. See, instead of having the investor ID, what if I have it as a part name? And instead of transaction type, what if I have it as part matrix? And now, by just simply copy and paste the identifier to column B and column F, the whole worksheet will then be updated itself and we have a comprehensive list already in column M and column N. That's it for today's tutorial. Comment below if you have any questions, like my video now and subscribe my channel for more tutorials. This workbook is available to download in the below link. Lastly, don't forget to check out Art of the Balance and download the free accounting system module.